Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everybody. It is Hugh Quintanilla here with another live at 5. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. Hope you guys are having a great day. I just finished having Christmas dinner, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you're having a great evening with your friends and family. It's been a great holiday for you and a great weekend. Oh my, I know a lot of people are going to be going back tomorrow. Some people are going to be going back Wednesday, so I hope everybody's going to be having a safe trip back. And this is another Live at 5. So I hope that you guys know what we do here. But if you don't and you're actually new to the program, it is actually a 15 to 20-minute space where I talk a little bit more about real estate so that you can educate yourself on real estate and how it can benefit you and how you can capitalize. As I said earlier, my name is Hugh Quintanilla and my phone number is 240-389-4846. Email is hugo@lnf.com and your realtor hugo.com is my website as well. So you can feel free, send me a comment, a DM, a message, anything that you like. Feel free to leave your comments below and just let me know what you want to talk about for the next few days. I'm always open to suggestions, and I love some of the feedback that I get from you guys because it helps me to prepare better material. So, as we talked about, today we're going to talk about new construction and the pros and cons of new construction more than anything else. So, let's jump into it. Why new construction over anything else that's on the market? New construction, as the name implies, is really it's new. That's all you need to know. It's new. You're paying good money for it. You hope that the builders are reputable and you try to work with good builders. You try to do your due diligence. You try to make sure that the inspections are done. You try to make sure that all these um, details are looked at because once the signature is there, it's tough to negotiate after the fact, and we don't want to put you through that. New construction has a lot of pros, a lot of cons, but it has to speak to you. And what you'll notice more than anything else with new construction is that it is a more updated architecture. So if you're into that aesthetic, it's great. Some people don't like it. Some people prefer the character that a home has, the different types of maybe changes that a property might have experienced with previous owners. But sometimes new construction just doesn't speak to everyone. It also is not financially viable for a lot of people, too. You've got to keep that in mind. Depending on the area and how much construction there already has been and development there is pretty much where you can see new development pricing in. We're seeing a lot of commercial properties being switched over to residential properties. So we're hopeful that uh, these areas will expand and have more to offer in the realm of availability and affordability. But as of right now, we're not really seeing it. We're seeing really nice properties, great properties, but they're not the most affordable. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. But some of the pros of buying a new construction: customization, opportunities for customization and personalization of design, features, layouts, and sometimes even floor plans. They let you just pick and choose what you like. And the great thing is that if you work with a very established builder, they can do anything for you. Sometimes if you work with a small builder, that gives you more flexibility in other terms. It just really depends on the situation. The benefit of some larger builders is that they might do their own financing. So modern amenities, access to the latest in home technology, energy efficiency, appliances, smart home features, and often included in new builds. So these things just come as a baseline product sometimes. Sometimes they come in as an upgrade. Sometimes they can cost a pretty penny when you price them out. But they're in this property. The property is new, and you're getting some of the top of the line trim so to speak, when it speaks to the what's going to be inside the property. The important thing is make sure you like it, make sure there are warranties on everything if possible, and just make sure it speaks to you because as we talked in previous days of the live, sometimes personalizing a property too much can be detrimental to the value of that property. So, balance. Warranty coverage. Speaking of warranty, typically comes with warranties covering structural elements, appliances, systems, and providing peace of mind for maintenance and repairs in the initial years. So there are some warranties built into the new construction. Again, I would suggest making sure that you get your home inspection done because you are entitled to all of that. And, just detail. Detail is the biggest thing because what's that saying? For lack of a nail, the war was lost. So, yeah, you don't want a nail to be the reason that your house falls down. It's not really that dramatic, but you if you start noticing, dings on the paint, make sure you outline them. If you're starting to notice like, hey, this was supposed to be this or this was supposed to be that, make sure you're getting what you're paying for. Is really what I'm speaking to. Reduced repairs, minimal initial maintenance, repairs compared to older homes, as everything is new and less likely to require immediate attention. It's on you. That's why you try to take care of this stuff before the builder leaves, because that way you can make sure that this is being serviced and taken care of by the person that put it into place. Otherwise, you know, you run the risk of not really taking the best care of your investment because that's what you want. You want to maintain this new property as best you can for maximum resale value. Energy efficiency, often designed with eco friendly features, resulting in lower utility bills and reduced environmental impact due to better insulation, effective windows, and HVAC systems. If we again speak to the modern aspect of these properties, they're all usually very techy, very smart enabled, wired for all sorts of connections that you might need. Uh, Ethernet, as well as high speed internet and probably USB connectors and whatnot. Who knows? In this day and age, there's so much that can be done with the power of a property. Resale value. Being a new build can potentially fetch a higher resale value in the future, especially if the neighborhood develops well. That's what you want. If the neighborhood is bringing in newer development that is bigger, if it's going to be a very popular development because a lot of people really like it, if there's a good school nearby, if it's in a very sought after area, these are all factors that can help the um, resale factor ability of your property, especially for a new build. You want to steer away from undercutting each other, though. That's really when a place in a neighborhood can go to crap, so to speak, because if you have sellers trying to, you know, wheel and deal and under certain market conditions, it can make the whole neighborhood go bad because there aren't that many comps to compare in that area. But the nice thing about these newer homes, if for example you get buyer's remorse very quickly, is that they're new homes. It's like having, 5,000 miles on a car. People aren't really going to look too much at it. It really depends on the situation in the car, of course. But, you look at a home and it's like 5 years in a home is not really a lot of time. It just really depends on care and where. You can really destroy a place in 5 years. But, think about it. Incentives and offers. Builders may offer incentives, discounts, or additional features to attract buyers in competitive markets. And this is the key of buying new construction. If there is a deal because they need to maybe build out more of a lot, if they need to maybe finish so that they can unlock the rest of their loan, they need to do things in a progressive order. So they can't construct more without selling what they have. And that's when you can really get a great deal. If you get, maybe the possibility of getting the last in lot of homes, you can really get a great property. Now, make sure you're not getting a garbage unit. Also, we're seeing a lot less of this because of the sheer demand that we've had. A lot of people don't want to buy a used home. They want to have something new. Even if it's only been a few years old, it's new to them in the sense that there's still a builder building in the area, and it's still being sold, actively sold. Community amenities. Many new developments come with planned communities that offer shared amenities like parks, pools, gyms, and community centers. Financial financing perks. Builders may offer their financing options or incentives, making the buying process smoother and sometimes more affordable. That's another great sticking point of this season is that if you need a little bit of help, they give great incentives for well qualified buyers. Again, you get what you pay for. So, you have to think about that premium, the builder, their, workmanship. It all goes into the bottom line and the package that you get too, because you could also, it's like getting a car. You could get a very fancy version or you can get a very baseline model. At the end of the day, you need a property, so you keep that in mind. And then lastly, in the pros category, there was no renovation needed. The home is move-in ready, eliminating the need for immediate renovations or remodeling. You're good to go. You're on the road, and it's just that's it. You don't have to really worry about it. It's the property is ready for you to make it your own. It's a blank slate, and the great thing about it is that for the most part what everybody else in the neighborhood has, especially if you're early into a community. Some downsides may be, the development is a little noisy. You might hear some things. There might be some growing pains in a development if, for example, some utilities are not, you know, connected properly, or is there some, poor craftsmanship in the property. But really, I don't hear too many bad stories. So, you know, I could do some research, and I'm sure if you look for anything long enough on the internet, you can find it. But very little maintenance and upkeep. Really, you start to see after the 7 year mark, 8 year mark is when you really have to start doing stuff to properties and actively taking care of them. You should be taking care of them every 3 months, making sure that you're doing a clean sweep, looking at fire alarms, looking at paint, looking at the outside, looking at your landscape, just making sure you know what's around you and the state of your property. But yeah, time flies, and before you know it, it's already been 10 years, and you might have children. You might need to move on to another stage of life. What we're seeing, a very curious stat I can tell you about this, is that we're seeing a lot of younger couple excuse me, a lot of younger couples trying to get into these properties. And then after about like maybe 10 years or so, they start to grow a family and they want to move more towards the suburbs, and they get a larger single family home. They get something small in these newer communities, hold on to it as an asset, and either lease it out or sell it for a larger down payment for their next property. I tend to see the second one because these couples sometimes use all the money they have to get into their next property. And that's great, but we always want to have that flexibility, and we always want to make sure that you have that rainy day fund, because you never know the unexpected. So I hate for someone to go all in on real estate and then realize that that ship is on the downward tail, because remember, it always goes up or down. It's one of those things that it's gonna be a season either way. So you just have to be prepared for that, and always diversify your assets, because there's no point in you putting all your eggs in one basket and something tragic happening. And that's why we also talk about the cons here. The cons of buying new construction: higher price tags. New construction generally comes with a higher price tag compared to older homes in the same area. Limited location choices. New constructions may be limited to specific areas, or new developments limiting location choices. That's the biggest one. We see sometimes new constructions in places that people don't want to go, and they make them look great. They like make them look pretty, but it really just depends on who the builder is and what is being developed there. So keep that in mind. But location, location, location. I'm sorry, construction delays. Possible delays in construction due to weather, material shortages, or other unforeseen circumstances. I want to highlight this because I should have put it at the top of the list, but that during the pandemic and during lockdown was one of the hardest things to overcome and challenges. Not everyone was like that. Not every case was like that, but there were some situations where people needed to move fast and there were these deadlines. And unfortunately, for X, Y, and Z reasons, these properties weren't finished on time. Sometimes there are ways of working with the builder, and we hope there is not a situation that we have to go through that. So we try to prepare timelines as best as possible. But unforeseen circumstances like when we were having shortage on wood, that it's really tough. It's really tough to build houses when you don't have the materials you need, or the materials you can get are really expensive. And that's what sometimes has been happening, especially with this inflation that we're trying to combat right now. Unestablished neighborhoods, lack of established community culture, and potentially uncertainty regarding nearby amenities, school, or future development. You might not have a lot of people trying to develop further once the builder leaves. So if a shopping center is built, sometimes the shopping center might be slow to fill its occupancy. And that can always lead to not only the builder suffering in returns, but the community suffering because there are not enough businesses. When we're talking about communities, sometimes it is a hard sell to sell a property that is higher priced and might be smaller, because at the end of the day some of these properties might not be any larger than outside of these developments. Sometimes you can find properties that are bigger outside is a better way of saying that. But you have to kind of, you can't have both in that situation. Do you want the new home? Most of the new homes that have the larger floor plans are top end, and that's just how that business works. That's where they make their money. Upfront costs often require higher upfront costs and additional fees compared to buying an existing home. Potential appraisal challenges. Appraisal challenges might arise if the newly constructed home's value exceeds that of the neighboring properties. We speak that and link that to when people over invest in their choices, when they're picking out their selection of options. They give you the options, yes. Are all the options supposed to go together at the same time? Who knows? But you have to, and this is why I always say that having a clear aesthetic in the property is very important, because you can have high and low materials and bits inside of a home, but sometimes doing all high end is not always the best way to go. And knowing where to tastefully do this, not only are you saving yourself money, but you're also saving yourself potentially more upkeep cost, maintenance cost, and headache and hassle. Some of these more expensive, pricey items are harder to upkeep. You just need to know what you're buying and mitigate your expectations. Just know, hey, like, hey, I wanted the nicer cabinets, so it's gonna be pricier. Unfortunately, that's how that works, that you have only but so many options and vendors that they work with. Oh, it's also another kind of thing that I wanted to bring up too about the appraisals is that sometimes, because we talked earlier about the Compton area, there might not be enough comparable properties, enough people buying into the area to justify the price. So when we have properties that are we're selling over ask, that can be a little bit challenging. Again, it really depends on the area. Here, a lot of the appraisers weren't having that unless you were having just crazy bidding wars. But even at that point, those properties were probably not getting appraisals. It was just a cash deal. So, can you buy a new construction cash? Yes. Potential appraisal charges. Lack of mature landscaping. New developments might lack mature landscaping, trees or greenery that adds charm and character to established neighborhoods. Also, keep in mind some of these houses and residencies, the buildings haven't settled yet. And there's a little bit of settling that happens every single year in your home. And settling is just the house, just the sheer weight of the house compacting down on the earth and pushing it down because the earth does move. It moves around you all the time. You hope that it doesn't move too much too fast all in one place, but it is there and it's being pushed down upon all these bricks and all these walls. And really the sheer architecture of the home is what helps in keeping its shape. So um, oh, it's just fascinating sometimes to look at architecture and talk about architecture because you can learn so much about why properties are built the way they are. And yeah, go check a new construction. They're very welcoming and they are very nice people, so they'll show you. But yeah, be aware that everything is designed for a reason, and sometimes these properties settle. They just move and shift, and you might have some cracking, some divots, some movement in your walls. Hopefully, it's not a lot, but it can happen. Possibility of builder reputation. Varying builder reputation can result in varying quality and reliability of the construction. You just don't know sometimes. And we hear horror stories or see TikToks of people using crazy methods to build homes. Obviously not sanctioned. So, how do you know? How do you actually combat that? You don't. You don't. You buy the house, you do your inspections, and you try to check everything as best you can, and you just hope that you don't have some bizarre thing where like the light switch in the garage turns on like a faucet somewhere. Limited negotiation. Builders may have less room for negotiation compared to individual sellers in the resale market. It's just they have their margins. They can't go below what they cost them to build it. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business. And if they don't sell them fast enough, that's another thing too. That's why there's that urgency to try to move some of these properties sometimes and give you guys a deal because it could really keep a builder afloat to get that money flow going. Unforeseen issues. Despite warranties, potential unforeseen issues or defects might arise after the initial purchase due to rushed construction or oversight. It just happens. So, these points provide a balanced view on the advantages and challenges associated with purchasing a newly constructed home in today's market. It's just the lay of the land. Properties are not perfect. We're seeing huge improvements in building technology and construction methods. So, now is probably one of the best times to build because we have so much at our disposal to use and make the best homes possible. But again, we have very unscrupulous builders that do horrible things sometimes with their plans, and it's not everybody. We don't want to generalize, but you just gotta be very aware and be mindful of what you're purchasing and be careful out there and always do your due diligence. Can you use a realtor with a new construction? Yes. It's really easy. You sign a buyer agency with us anyways. It's a contract that basically lets us represent you on behalf of you, and we just go together. You just go to visit the properties with us all the time, and that's the only difference is that we will always go with you. Sometimes the agent can't go. If they sign you up with the new construction, then they are kept in the loop. Now be careful, that's not always the case. So make sure that if you want to be represented by your agent, that you clearly sign yourself in with your agent's information and reiterate that to the person that you're working with. Who your agent is, give your agent your contact information and try to get them in the loop as soon as possible because we want to make sure that you get represented if that's what you want. Otherwise, what will happen is that the agent at the new construction will represent the builder, and you will be purchasing as an unrepresented buyer to the builder. Not a bad thing, but you're also leaving yourself open to anything that might go wrong. You know, it's just you should protect yourself with such a big purchase, even if it is with the builder themselves. Typically, they'll do also the financing, so you got to think about that too. They have your money and they have your building. So, do you really want to just go with all the stuff that they're telling you? Do you want maybe another third option just to give you a their insight or what they've heard from their clients? Because you'd be shocked. The first people that resell these properties are realtors. That's who it gets called when someone's like, I hate this home. And that's what happens. They call a realtor and say, hey, I want to sell it. And they get sold, especially in this market where we need the inventory. Speaking of which, if you or anyone you know needs help with real estate, buying, selling, leasing, or investing, I am more than happy to help. I'm licensed in Maryland, but can help you all over the United States and abroad too. So feel free and reach out. My email is hugo@lnf.com. My website is yourrealtorhugo.com. And yeah, phone number 240-389-4846. My name is Hugo Quintanilla. This has been the Live at 5. Today we talked about new construction. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all of you. And I will see you tomorrow for another edition of the Live, where we learn a little bit more every day about real estate and how it can pay off for you. Take care. Thank you for watching. Bye.